The Bear Essentials podcast gives older bears a place to gather for real talk regarding topics and issues that they can relate to. Here at The Bear Essentials, we aren't just having conversations. We are looking to provide actionable intelligence through real-life experience and expertise of our guests. Our mission is to build a strong community that elevates and motivates people to go beyond their limiting beliefs by helping them realize that getting older is not an excuse to hibernate on their goals, but a reason to work harder.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Charles Wallace. Today's guest is a law enforcement officer from Augusta, Georgia. His name is Eric McCants. He is an investigative sergeant of narcotics at Burke County Sheriff's Office. He is also a member of their SWAT team. I was really excited to have Eric on the show today. I personally have family and friends who are police officers here in the Philadelphia area. So I wanted to get the perspective of a law enforcement officer who is outside of a big city. Eric was able to provide that perspective. We talked about what motivates him to be a police officer. As we all know, being in law enforcement in today's society is a bit of a hot topic. Media will discuss it, and we don't always get to see the good that the police do. And I wanted to have someone like Eric on to have an opportunity to show what, in my opinion, are most police officers, and that their intentions and their motives are good, and that they're out there to, as Eric said at one point in the interview, he said they're out there to uplift people. So we talked about that. We talked about, obviously, race as far as dealing with that as a police officer in today's society. We talked about how, the cry to defund the police, how that impacts his job. There were a lot of good information here given by Eric, and I think what resonated the most with me, and I think it will with you too, is Eric is a authentic, genuine person who is looking to do good for this world and for his community. And I think the majority of the law enforcement officers out there are in it for those reasons. And it's a hard job they have. And we even touch on this a little bit because most of us probably think about PTSD with military, with soldiers, but police officers, they have to deal with that also. So please, without further ado, hope you stick around. Let's jump into the interview with Sergeant Eric McCants. Hi, Eric. How you doing today? Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Really appreciate having you on. It's an honor, and I really appreciate what you do as far as your work as a police officer. I don't want to say too much. I want to allow you. Could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, like I said, my name is Eric McCants. I currently work for the Burke County Sheriff Department as an investigative sergeant in narcotics. I've been in law enforcement about 11 years. I really enjoy it. Like I say, it's one of my passions. Like I say, recently I just started getting into instructing, which I feel like is a good purpose for me because I've always had good mentors and teachers. I want to be the same for others. And also, like I say, just about 2 years ago, I received my master's in security and justice from the University of Phoenix. And so I'm happily married and I have 5 kids.
So you are a busy man, my friend, and congratulations on getting the degree. I have 4 kids myself, so I know how that all goes. So juggling family, all that, but it's impressive. Hi, everyone. Here at the Bear Essentials podcast, we talk a lot about never hibernating on your goals. Well, that takes a certain mindset. It takes a primal mindset. So please, be sure to check out our sponsor, Go Primal. And while shopping their website, goprimalusa.com, be sure to use code BEAR10 and get 10% off your purchase. Trust your instincts. Go Primal. As far as law enforcement, was that something you always wanted to be involved with?
No, sir. Like I said, I went off to school because I graduated kind of early. I graduated when I was 17. I went to school to become a business management major. Basically, like I said, I've been in martial arts for a long time. My cousin had a karate school. He had taught me the martial arts part, and we were still learning that part, but he wanted to teach me the business aspect so I could help run the business side of it as far as the funds, make sure that the business grows and expands. Went off to school, I was 17. I was a little young. It was a little too much for me to have all that, free time to myself. Like scheduling classes at 8 a.m. was a bad mistake for me. I learned, but I never made it to them. But eventually I had to withdraw from that academically. Then I started working at a local grocery store. During that time, there was an officer there talking to another guy about the police academy. And my mother was sending me a text. I'm like, you need to find something to do. You need to go back to school, do something instead of working at a grocery store. I ended up talking to the guy, and he was like, man, you should go to the police academy. He says, it's a good adventure. My mother's bothering me. Here's something I could try. So eventually I went to the police academy, ended up falling in love with it. And like I said, I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. It's funny too. I think a lot of us could probably think back and hear those messages from our parents, trying to push us along back in the day. I want to go back to it a little bit though. That interests me a lot. You talked about martial art. What martial arts was it, Eric?
Well, I started off in a style called Yoshikar Karate, which is an Okinawan style, which is a hard style. My uncle, who taught my cousin also, was a Kung Fu master. He did Kung Fu Wushu. And like I said, they kind of blended the styles together, and then we got Gun Kai. And like I said, my cousin still trains. I still train when I can. And that's how I have my kids involved in it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know for me, growing up, in the 80s, karate, kung fu, Bruce Lee, all that, I trained myself. So that stuff I really, really enjoy. Now, Eric, you mentioned about being a mentor and how you've had good mentors. So not just for the police academy, not just like even being younger, was that always something? Did you ever see yourself as a leader, or that you wanted to lead others or help others along the way? Was that something that was there when you were younger, even prior to becoming a police officer?
Well, sort of, kind of. Like I said, I've always been one of the people that try to help people, rise above and progress forward. I never want to see people down. Like I said, we all have it hard in life doing something, and it's always good to have somebody there along you that can help push you further. Just from talking to my grandfather, because like I said, he was always a major influence in my life during my younger years, and just telling me that, you can always do better, you can strive for the best, all that stuff always stayed with me. And then, like I say, with my uncle, my cousin, martial arts, then pushing me along. And like I said, at the time, I thought they would just beat me up. But like I said, that's what we did in martial arts, they just beat me up. But they taught me life lessons in between those beat downs. And like I say, talking to my sheriff, he was actually my instructor in the academy, and just having those type of mentors along, it's just something that came along as I got older.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it did, because I like I said right before we started, I've just recently started to notice and follow you on LinkedIn, and I think the content you're putting out there is really beneficial for a lot of people. So thank you for that. So you mentioned about your family life, kids, all that, and I see what you post about. You're obviously still fit. How do you manage that time aspect of family, career, and still doing the things you need to do to stay as fit as you need to be?
Well, you got to create a schedule and you got to stick to it. A lot of people just go through life just, doing it, just wincing it, taking a chance. Like, okay, I'm gonna try to go to the gym here. You got to make a effort to have a consistent schedule. Like I said, I go to the gym at 5 a.m. every morning. Like I say, I wake up at 4 a.m., get myself together, go to the gym at 5 a.m., try to be back home by 6:15. Help the wife get the kids together, get everybody out the door. Then I get myself together. And then, like I say, once I get home from work, like I say, being law enforcement, sometimes you're going to work late, you're going to work early. It just depends. But trying to make time for them when I do get home, help with schoolwork and all that stuff. Cause like I said, I understand how my mother felt doing schoolwork with us. But I say doing schoolwork, my kids is just different now. It looks like Japanese or something like that. So just trying to keep that balance and make sure you have a schedule, write it down, keep all events ahead of time. Like I say, just recently I was looking at somebody I work with. They have a whiteboard, and they basically every month they write down everything they have going on every day, and they make sure they have it up there. So when you see it, like I say, you'll have a better understanding of what you need to do and what you don't need to do, and just basically cutting off frivolous time. Nothing wrong. I enjoy playing my games. I enjoy watching TV, but trying to reduce that helps it out a lot.
That's a great point you just ended there with. I'm glad you mentioned that, because even I know for me, a lot of people I speak to, that's the thing. We all think we don't have the time, but it's just, we have to prioritize properly. And you're a great example of doing that. So, and you mentioned about the homework. I have family that's in law enforcement also. And, my cousin actually made this comment to me before. He said, more dangerous to do schoolwork with my kids than it is to go out every day and be a cop.
Oh yeah, yeah. That schoolwork can get rough, and like I said, they teach mathematics differently. I was pretty good at math when I was in
Hmm.
school, and like I say, when we did multiplication, we go down the line, division same way, but they have boxes and stuff that they do with mathematics, and like I say, I'm lost for words. They're teaching me things that I should be teaching them, and like I say, they just handle things differently, and that's just how things are in life. Like I say, over time, things just change, and they go about doing things differently.
Yeah, well, you're probably a better man than me with that because I used to make this comment, Eric. I'd say, "Hey, I'm paying them to teach you. Like, this isn't my job. I need them to do this because I don't I don't understand it."
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
rough.
it definitely is. So Eric, as far as being a police officer, being in law enforcement, I've always wondered, how do you guys handle, and I'll get into this more as we go down the line, but I got to imagine the stress that you guys are under on a daily basis, just walking out the door every day, not knowing what you can encounter. And, it's a dangerous profession. So how do you handle that? Because to me, that would be the hardest part, is leaving that house every day, not knowing what I may encounter, not knowing what, the day has in store.
Well, basically, like I said, like I always tell people, you got to look at the positive side of everything. Like I say, you understand that you could lose your life at any time. Like I say, whether you're in law enforcement or not, but you're gonna have a higher chance in law enforcement because of the things we deal with. Just make sure you're taking the steps, being safe with what you do, making sure the people around you are being safe, and also, like I say, man, just not put yourself in situations unless you absolutely have to when you have to deal with life and dangerous situations. Um, it's a stressful job, but like I said, the way most law enforcement deal with it, like I say, we deal with it with humor. Like I say, what most people might not find funny, we find funny. Like I say, we see so many different things. Like I say, we see the dead bodies, we see the bad wrecks, we see the shooting victims, we see all this other stuff. And like I say, the way to cope with it, a lot of times we cope with it with humor. And like I say, memes is just something that a lot of us use. Like we'll find one that, okay, this is something we dealt with. This is something we do all the time and just laugh at. Like I say, one of the best parts of law enforcement is the camaraderie that you have. You're going to have friends and family along in law enforcement. And like I say, just being a part of that brotherhood is something that people enjoy.
And Eric, I would imagine that's a great point you touch on, though, because I would imagine that brotherhood when it comes to law enforcement is probably even a bigger deal than, say, support from your family in this regard. They, you guys really only understand the daily stresses of what you're going through each day. So I would imagine you get to lean on each other to help each other get through that.
Yeah, because like a lot of times they're going to go through the situation with you. And then in most cases, definitely now, there's no like with short staff with different agencies, also, if you spend more time with your law enforcement family, like I say, most time you're going to work 12-hour shifts and you're doing that 5 days a week, you're going to spend more time with them and they see what you're going through. So they can relate better to that. And like I say, you don't want to come home and tell your wife about all the stuff that's been going on at work. Like I said, they don't want to hear about the dead bodies or the little kids that have been hurt with different incidents. And you don't want to put that on them either. But like I say, you could just bounce ideas off of the people that you work with. And like I said, they basically know what's going on because most of the times they've been there in that situation or they're there with you. So having that brotherhood, someone close to you, definitely in law enforcement, is always going to be a plus.
So Eric, I would imagine though, as far as stress goes, right? And myself, I'm big supporter of police, having police and family, police, military. Now, I know times have been rough lately, times are changing. Does it add additional stress to you guys knowing that? I guess the best way I can say it is there's definitely as many supporters as are out there that are out there. There are people that sometimes see police as an enemy almost. And does that make it harder for you guys to actually do your job?
Well, for some, it does. Like I say, if you really came in law enforcement for the right reason, people on the outside shouldn't affect how you do your job. Like I say, you could be getting cussed out for somebody out there on the street, or they'll be belligerent towards you. And then, like I say, if they end up getting injured or something from a shooting or a stabbing, and they like say, "Damn, I'm still going to perform CPR and make sure I give them the best care that they need to make sure that they have the best opportunity to live or survive the incident." Now, with some people, like I say, they take it personally, and that's one thing in law enforcement you can't do. You can't take the things that the public or the people say about you personally, and it's hard. Like I say, you see it in your face every day that every little small incident that happens, they want to blame the whole law enforcement community. And like I say, they paint that wide brush against everybody in law enforcement that everybody's that way, which is not true. Like I say, there's officers every day that go through hundreds of incidents without having any problems. But if one happens, they want to blame everybody in law enforcement. And it can add a little stress. And like I tell people, I say, you just can't take it personally because, I mean, it's just like for any profession, you're going to have problems there. You're going to have bad apples and you want to get rid of them and get them out the profession. But at the same time, you got to know why you got into law enforcement, what you're doing, why you're doing what you need to do. And I say just stay that path.
So on that note, I would imagine, and I've always thought about this when it comes to law enforcement for you guys, I would imagine that one thing that maybe you guys don't think about it, specifically, but I think for you guys, when it comes to, I'll call it emotional intelligence, that has to be huge. And you have to be able to manage your emotions in order to deal with what you deal with. Do you find yourself really paying attention to that aspect of your life, your emotional intelligence?
Yeah, well, I said that's very critical. Cause like I say, in life we all go through things. You have problems that happen at home life, whether it's financial, family, and all that stuff. And like I say, you can't bring that stuff to work. You got to be able to know how to check out that stuff at home and leave it there, and then be able to handle situations. Like I say, in most cases, law enforcement deals with people at the worst part of their life or their day, and they're going through some kind of critical incident that they need you to handle. And like I say, you can't bring your problems and add your problems to their problems, and you create this big ball of confusion and fire. And like I say, you're there to put the fire out and add more fuel to it. So be able to check your feelings and emotions and be able to keep those in check while you're handling somebody else's problems is something that's really big. And like I said, and that's why I tell people most of the best officers are ones that can talk to people, that can relate, that can build that rapport with people. But I say you got to know how to talk to people. You got to know how to get to their level of understanding so that you can handle your situation. Like I say, most time when you come on scene, people are going to be frantic. Sometimes they're not going to want to talk to you, but if you're able to pull them to the side, talk to them like, hey, I don't know what happened before. I'm here to handle what's going on. And then you can relate to them. But that also comes back to keeping your emotions in check. But like I said, people might cut you up by the first time you get there. They might tell you, get the hell on. I don't want you here. Leave and all that stuff. But you still got to be able to diffuse all that. Don't take it personally. Get your emotions in check and then handle what's going on.
And that's so it's interesting to me because I feel it's that way, not just law enforcement, right? It's that way in a lot of things in life. And I think it's an aspect that a lot of people, we don't consider it enough is our own emotions and having them under control. I can tell you to everyone, we'll be right back after a word from NGBN TV.
Hey, Charles, I just wanted to welcome you and all the Bear Essential listeners and watchers to NGBN.TV. My name is Chris Rubio, and I'm the host of The Rubio Method. We are a show about men's mental health that comes out every other Wednesday with myself and my co-host Nick Monahan. We navigate the zone of men turning into middle age and going through health crises, whether it's mental, physical, and we have a good time while doing it. We tell a lot of funny stories. We have great interviews and guests, and it's just an all-around good time for about a half an hour to 45 minutes. So make sure you check out the Rubio Method as well on NGBN.TV, YouTube, Spotify, Google, and Amazon podcasts. And once again, from the Rubio Method to the Bare Essentials, welcome to NGBN.TV.
And what you just mentioned there, do you find yourself, and it sounds like it, as a police officer and doing your job, it almost seems like one of your first responsibilities when you get to a scene is you're finding yourself having to de-escalate the situation. Is that true?
Yeah, most of the time you're going there, you're going to be de-escalated. Like sometimes it might be an all-out fight, might be people arguing, or it might just be, parent and a child having a bad, altercation. Most times you want to go ahead and separate parties. If you have more than one party, you go ahead and separate them. That's why it's always best to have backup, but separate them, get both sides of the stories. And then, like I say, you want to become a mediator, try to get everybody back together, let them know that, hey, we all have problems, situations arise, you need to work through it, whether you got to separate or whether you got to sit down and talk about it. But basically, like I say, you got to de-escalate the problem. Like I say, if you go out there adding fuel to the fire, it's just going to, fireball out the way. So coming out there, like I say, talking to both sides. And most time I learned that when you're dealing with people in these different type of instances, they just want to talk to somebody. They want to get their frustrations out. Let them talk, let them vent. Don't try to interrupt them unless they're becoming causing a scene, but let them talk, get their feelings out. Then, like I said, you process what they're telling you. And then, like I said, you give them the feedback they need. Tell them, well, okay, now I understand this is happening. While this is bad, it could be worse. Like I say, you need to go over here, talk to this person, figure out what the next steps are so you can get back on track.
And Eric, you just come across as having an extremely calm demeanor that I can only imagine serves you extremely well. But I'm going to ask, has there ever been times where you felt yourself, where your demeanor, you're like, oh, you feel yourself rising, right? Have you ever had to really say, damn, I need to, or you needed somebody to kind of step you back? Has that ever happened during the course of your job?
Oh yeah, it happens. It happens all the time. Therefore, like I say, if you're dealing with people that just belligerent and they just will not listen to you, that's why it's always good to have partners and people around you. Like I said, I worked on a crime suppression team, and basically it was about 4 or 5 of us officers. And like I said, we was a proactive unit. And when we went out there, we'll deal with people and all that stuff. And most of the time, people felt like we're harassing them, but like I said, we were just an aggressive patrol unit, looking for drugs, guns, people that were wanted, all that stuff. So when you get into those type of instances, you feel yourself, escalating. That's when you need to have a partner around you that's looking at you and like I said, I've done to my partners, they've done to me. They're like, okay, well, I handle it from here. You going over there. Sometimes you're like, no, I got it. And you're like, no, you just going over there. Talk to other people. It's like some people, like I say, your personality is just not going to match. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be able to get get through to them what you need to get through to them. And it's just going to keep bouncing off each other. And it's like hard against hard. You're just going to keep bouncing back and forth. So you just have another officer around you that be like, okay, hey, I got this. Step on over there. I'll finish the call out. And that's why it's good to always have good partners that knows your demeanors. They can tell when you're about to get to that point of anger. And like I said, it's about to get frustrated. They'll tell you, get out the way. I got this. Go talk to the other person and figure out what's going on. Like I say it happens, but you just got to learn how to control your emotions.
Yeah, and I find that, I've been fortunate in life, obviously, with my family being in police, but also even the few times, like I may or may not have gotten pulled over for, driving improperly or having an expired inspection sticker, but it's, the interactions have always been cordial, and I've always noticed that the officers I've dealt with have had, that calm demeanor, and that was one thing. Because even for us, if you get pulled over from the other aspect, you're somewhat nervous yourself, and it just it definitely becomes just, but they have a hard job. They're trying to have their day, and just trying to get along with it. But I appreciate that, the calm demeanor aspect of it. So, Eric, I did want to ask, I live in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So, you know, it's been a bit of a hotbed up in this area as far as police and, the DA, how hard are they on crime, things like that. Police feel like they don't have the backing they need, unfortunately. Um, for you, do you feel like you're getting full backing and everything you need to be able to do your job the way it needs to be done?
But like I said, I work for a very supportive sheriff. He's going to support us when we're right, and he's going to scold us when we're wrong. He's always been in areas of law enforcement. Like I say, he's been on road patrol. He's done the investigator for the DA system. And like I say, he's been chief of police for the board of education. And like I say, he always taught us like, basically in certain things, don't take things personally. But like I say, you see a lot of officers like, okay, well, I just arrested this person and they're out before I finish my paperwork. While that might be true, like I say, you can't take it personally. If you see them commit a crime, you just got to do what you got to do and handle it again. And that's where a lot of younger officers, tend to take things personally. Like I say, it's just the way the system works. Like I say, I'm not going to say it's perfect. It needs to be, a real overall haul of the whole justice system. Like I say, things are kind of unbalanced, but like I say, you can't take it personally. Like I say, you got to just go out there, do your job, and do it to the best of your ability. And like I say, if it doesn't go your way in court or you feel like you lost the case, make another case, work it up again. Like I say, in most instances, people going to, reoffend. And like I say, if that's the same person you dealt with, put them back in jail, then you go back in jail and do what you need to do. But for the most part, like I say, my sheriff has always been supportive of everything I've done. He's helped my career tremendously. And like I say, he still mentors me to this day. So like I say, I haven't had that problem. But like I say, I work in a rural county almost. It's about 835 square miles, but it's only like 23,000 people. So we have a real supportive group of people that even in our community for law enforcement, they appreciate the work we do. So we don't have that problem, but I read about it all across the country.
Yeah, it is. From what not just reading up here, from what I hear from, friends, family on the force, it seems to be getting harder, for them. So for you, and I guess I couldn't get away without asking this. I mean, for you in general, right? Obviously, I feel like media in general, right? How big of an issue when it comes to law enforcement do you feel race is? Do you feel like that's really becoming more of an issue? Is something that can be, obviously it can be worked to be better, but how's your experience been with that? Do you see it as a big problem, or is it something that is maybe being blown out of proportion?
Well, I feel like it's an issue, but I don't know if it's as big as an issue as the media makes it seem. Like say, we go through, like say, 100 incidents every day with nothing occurring. But when something bad occurs, like say, it needs to get the attention it does, and they need to get away with it, but they'll try to paint the whole law enforcement community that, we're all out here trying to attack certain groups or certain people because of their color of skin or their religion, race, and all that stuff like that. And that's kind of the problem that happens. Like say, the media will get one story and they'll harp on it. But like I say, you got other stories of officers helping, different groups of people, buying car seats, giving them gas money, changing the tires, going above and beyond. But those stories don't get played. But like I say, you'll have 1, 2 incidents where officers outside, outside of the badge and they do something they don't need to be doing. And then they'll put that over everybody in law enforcement. Like, well, okay, if this one officer do it, that means it's, everybody else in law enforcement doing, which is not the case. And that's kind of the problem that we create. Like I said, they'll show the bad in law enforcement and some media will show the good, but for the most part, they'll show the downfall of law enforcement, but they won't show what's lifting others up. So that's the kind of problem that I have with media and how they, basically just paint everybody as these bad people, like we're just machines that put on a badge of gun and think we're above everybody, which is not the case.
And I think that goes back to what you said in the very beginning, right? You got into law enforcement for the right reasons. I think that for the large majority of officers who have gotten into that career for the right reasons, it will always show in the way they handle their business. So Eric, what would you say to, what do you say to people who basically say, we don't need police, defund police? What do you say to that?
Well, I tell them just look around the country. Like I say, you see some of these cities where they wanted to defund the police and how, crime has risen and all that stuff. Like I say, I understand that there's a problem with law enforcement. That's what everything grew. But you got to understand, we keep that balance between the good and bad. And like I say, understanding that, and like I say, you can see the uptick of murders in different cities and ag assaults and all that stuff. And like I tell people, I say, you tell us you don't want law enforcement in your city, but when crime comes out of control, you're like, well, we need more law enforcement. At that time, it's too late. Like I say, you see it now. Law enforcement officers just walking away from the job. They're like, well, okay, I gave this much of my job. It's just not worth it. And like I say, for people that's been on the job 20, 35 years, the officers that still have heart for it, I appreciate them. And like I say, I want to continue doing law enforcement, but like I say, it's kind of hard for people when they want to defund you. They don't want you doing your job, but then when they need you, they want you to come as fast as you can. It's kind of hard to, keep that same mental health that you want to, push towards them and keep uplifting them and helping them through their problems, but they don't want you there. So, I understand like a couple of incidents where people feel like, law enforcement is overreached. And like I tell people, we need to get the bad apples out, but that's just the same thing as painting that broad, paintbrush over everybody in law enforcement, that we're all out here, trying to go above and beyond the law and try to manhandle people and, just become a militant force, which we aren't. We're just trying to have voluntary compliance to the laws. And that's what we want people to do. But like I said, most times we don't interact with people unless we either been called or we see a crime occurring. It's not like we just see a person just walking down the street and be like, okay, well, we need to go talk to them. Unless we feel like something's been going on, there's a reason why most time we contact people. We just don't go out here harassing people. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. But the fun issue, like I said, people are starting to see that it was a bad idea. But like I say, different cities that you see, like Portland and all them stuff, when they want law enforcement, all them out of there, your city's crumbling right in front of them. And people want, law enforcement to come in and save the day. But like I say, sometimes things have gotten so out of control, it's hard to, regain that structure back. So that's why I say it's always best to have a law enforcement presence. I say you'd rather have us there and not need us, and then to need us and not have us there.
Yeah, and I can't echo that enough, obviously. I appreciate what you guys do so much. I just can, quick personal story when, a couple years back when the riots were happening around the big cities, my wife and I we decided to we went down to South Carolina and Myrtle Beach, and we were actually first time we've been away in a while, having a good trip. And then we're watching the news back home and we're seeing about these riots that are happening. So we literally were there one night, we drove back, but I'm so thankful because we had police patrolling our area, and it turned out to be a blessing because I kid you not, we had about 4 carloads of rioters who drove through. And at that point in time, luckily there were police presence there also. So basically just by their presence, nothing happened. There was no incident. And I know that if they wouldn't have been there, there would have been an incident. So I'm extremely grateful for that. So Eric, one thing you mentioned on your LinkedIn, and I definitely want to talk about this a little bit because I think people relate PTSD, they relate it mainly to military.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned about it for police also. And I'll be honest, I was guilty of it also. When I think of PTSD, I picture soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw on your LinkedIn bio that you speak about PTSD with police, it hit me. I'm like, wow, like I can so see it. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, like I say, most people that say they're associated with military, but like, hey, law enforcement deals with a lot of different incidents. Like I say, one minute, like I say, you're sitting in your car, next minute you're going to a shooting, you're in a car chase, all that stuff. And a lot of times we don't decompress. Like I say, after that incident, we go right back out to doing our job. We don't have anybody to talk to. So mental issues or mental health is a real big thing in law enforcement. And like I say, this is like the elephant in the room. No one talks about it, but we know it's a problem. Like I say, you can see in New York with NYPD and different agencies across the nation that suicide rates are up in law enforcement. For one reason or another, like I say, you might not never know, but like I say, they have passed and gone on. But it's something big that we need to talk about and that we need to try to handle. Like I say, man, you have people out here that's doing this job and they're going through their job daily, dealing with these different incidents of dealing with, the shootings, the car chases, the car wrecks, seeing their brothers and sisters get killed and all that stuff, seeing little kids get injured, and that can take a toll on you. Like I said, if you don't have a strong mental armor around you, like I say, it can break you down. And that's why we need to have a conversation about it. And like I say, there's plenty of people, like I say, definitely on LinkedIn that's trying to work on that. And what kind of creates a problem is, especially in law enforcement, like I say, it's just one of those things. Like if you start talking about your mental health or you feel like you break it down, generally in the old days, they're kind of, outcast you. They'll be like, okay, well, maybe you don't need your gun and badge and all that stuff if you're having a problem issue. And we're starting to become a little bit better at that, just understanding the things that we go through and the things that we see that can create a problem with our mental health. So it's getting better, but it needs to be, it's getting better over time, but it still needs a lot of work. Like I say, we deal with so many different things. I say, even for me, like I say, I'm not saying I have a mental health problem, but like I say, I could tell you some of the stuff that I've seen over my career, like verbatim. Like I can go through the whole incident. And like I say, I don't replay it every day, but those are just memories that stay with you throughout your life. And we just need to have like more counselors, more help for law enforcement across the board so they can help get through these incidents that they see so they'll become out better and stronger mentally.
Yeah, that's huge. And part of the mission I'll say with the podcast that I'm doing and part of the network that I'm on is NGBN. We are definitely trying to, as what we part of what we do is trying to shed light and awareness on men's mental health. And I noticed that with what I really am trying to do is I want to really interview men like yourself, right? That I'll say truly alpha male, right? Like, where
Yeah.
because I think what you said is so important. I think as a man in general, people just think, if I talk about this, does it make me less of a man? Right?
Hmm.
You know, what do you say to that person? What would you tell that person to be, as that it doesn't? What could you say to them to help make them almost talk about it and get the help they need?
Well, just let them know that we all need somebody to talk to. Like I said, we all go through problems and issues. People deal with it differently, but sometimes we can't face our demons alone. We need somebody to help us, to help battle them. So they'll come into somebody that can help understand you. And like I tell people, I say most times you're gonna feel more comfortable talking to a stranger than you're gonna feel talking to the people you're around because they know you. You always have this presence of being that, like you said, alpha male, and you don't want to see the less of a man around them. So just find somebody, like I say, you might have to go get you a counselor, somebody that no one knows, and talk to them. But just reach out, like I say, man, you'd rather handle this problem than to, get out of control and then you can't control your feelings and emotions. And just understand that like I said, we all have problems. We all go through things. We have different ways of, going about it. Like I say, some people, they can talk to people face to face. Some people would rather write it out and let somebody else read it and then let them write back to you. It's different methods of doing it. You don't have to just go sit in front of a counselor. There's different ways you can do it. But, get the help you need or get somebody to help guide you to what you need to do to help correct the issues that you're going through.
So Eric, thanks so much for that message because here you are, career in law enforcement, and someone from coming from someone like you, I think it definitely shows. Like for anybody who's watching this, please, like it doesn't make you less of a man. Just talk to somebody, and we'd rather have you speak to somebody than be up there speaking about you at your funeral. So please get the help you need. So Eric, I kind of wanted to end with this. For you, you had the chance, giving you the chance right now to speak on behalf of law enforcement around the country, playing the role of, hey, for all the people out there who may be, not so, feeling great about law enforcement, what do you say to them to help change their opinion? Hopefully let them know that, you guys are out there, you're on their side.
Well, just let them know that, we're out there just to do our job. We want to make sure that everybody's safe in the community. Basically, that's all we're out there to do, just to make sure that the good stays good and we try to keep the bad away from them. We're trying to protect those from the evil people in the world because we have plenty of people there. And like I say, we go out every day, we put on our boots just like everybody else. We're men and women. We're normal individuals. We're no one better. We just want to protect those that can't protect themselves. And like I say, we have a job to do. I say we're going to try to do it to our best of our abilities to make sure that everyone's safe while we do our job. So I say, just like the community needs us, we need the community. Like I say, we can't do our job without the community also.
It's a fantastic message, Eric. We're all in this together, regardless of the color of our skin, the God we believe in, whatever that God's name is, right? We're all in this together. And I honestly, I can't thank you enough for what you and people like you do. I know I see you on LinkedIn. You're doing a lot of great stuff on LinkedIn. So please, if you're listening and you have LinkedIn, check out Eric McCants on LinkedIn. Is there any other areas where people can find you, or you got anything else going on that you'd like to promote?
Not this time, like I said, between work and all that stuff, I stay on LinkedIn quite a while. Like I said, I've been able to get a pretty good following just to help people, stay positive. Like I said, I've had, like I say, good mentors to help me stay positive and focus on the better things in life. And like I say, it's always helped me. So I'm trying to help others with that.
It's fantastic, Eric. Well, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I just to let everybody know, I literally kind of just, again, started following Eric. I messaged him just a few nights ago, actually. And when he responded right away and said, "Hey, let's do this," I was extremely excited. So Eric, this has been a true honor for me. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
This has been the Bear Essentials. Thanks for listening. And remember, never hibernate on your goals.